Evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in two parts. The first part is our public hearing. For each application, we will ask the applicant to come up to the podium and give us name and address, and then explain to the board why the relief requested should be granted. Once the applicant is done with the presentation, board members will have some questions, and then we'll invite anyone in the audience to come up, give name and address, and then speak about the application. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess. Some of us take a little longer on recesses than others. But we'll take that brief recess, and then we'll reconvene in the back of the room where we will deliberate on tonight's applications and tend to any tabled matters or other business the board may have. Members of the public are certainly welcome to attend both sessions, the public hearing and the deliberations, although the deliberations are times reserved generally for conversation amongst board members with staff, and with council if necessary. We have a pretty lengthy agenda tonight, but you're welcome to stay. If for whatever reason you cannot or you choose not to stay, you can call tomorrow Harold or Allison to find out what action, if any, the board took on a particular item. I point out every meeting that the town has a very good practice, we think, to make sure that neighbors come out, hear about the application, and come out and speak about them if they choose to do so. And that's to make sure that neighbors are notified in very many ways about the application. And when I say neighbors, there's a certain geographic period, I think 500 feet or 300 feet. If you live within that distance of an application, you're going to get a postcard. Mailed to you to notify you about the application. We also make applicants put the signs in their yard. We advertise on the internet, and then, as I like to say the old-fashioned way, by posting it on a bulletin board. And we think it works well. People come out when they feel that they have something to say, and it allows us to do our job better, so we appreciate that. Having said that, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Even though I already mentioned her by name, I would like to welcome a new staff member, Allison Sublett, who's at the end. And we're real happy with her work so far and hope she enjoys her stay with us. So thank you. Welcome, Allison. Okay, Harold, first one.
Before we get to the first application, the fourth application has been withdrawn. I don't think there's anybody here for that application. On Stone Hollow Drive, it will not be heard tonight, and there will not be a need for any requested area variances for that property. Application number 1, Tyler and Julie McMahon, 31 Havenshire Road, Rochester, New York, 14625. Request an area variance from Article 3-3-35-D-2 of the code to allow the construction of a shed with less setback at 31 Havenshire Road. The property is owned by Tyler and Julie McMahon and is zone R-1-20. This is SBL number 108.11-2-18. This is application number 14Z-0029.
Hi.
My name's Tyler McMahon. I live at 31 Havenshire. And I guess I'm requesting the variance. I'd like to preserve the yard in the center of my lot for my kids. I don't know that there's much I can say about a 5-foot setback in the back of a yard for a shed, but do you have any questions for me?
Sure do. What are the dimensions?
Dimensions of the shed? 12 by 16.
Okay, and the height?
I believe it'll be less than 14 feet.
How about 12 feet?
Or 12 feet.
That's our code, I'm
Yes,
hoping.
yes. As of right now, we are looking at a shed that's delivered, and they bring it in on a skid and set it down, and I believe the gentleman who I talked to about the shed said that it would be under 12 feet.
Okay. If it's more than 12 feet, you'll have to check with us again.
Yes, I certainly, if it's more than 12 feet, I'll either apply for another variance or dig a deeper hole.
Sounds good. What is this going to be constructed of?
Type 5 construction, just wood and
And what do you plan on storing in it?
Lawnmower and yard grooming equipment.
And where is the stuff now?
It's in my garage.
Okay. And you probably don't have much room in your garage for it anymore, is that?
Well, it's getting full. The lawnmower's outside in the driveway.
Okay, and where on the property is this shed going to be?
It's going to be in the northwest corner. I think that's the
Okay.
rear property. Trying to line it up with the house so it kind of stays in character, even though my lot's a little weird. So I'm actually want to paint it and have it trimmed the same color as the house, so it kind of looks like it belongs.
Okay. Why do you need to have this variance? You have a very large yard.
I do. To compare the lots in the division, I happen to have the last lot in the subdivision, and if you've seen the survey map, you'll notice that it's changed since it was constructed, and it was a little weird to begin with, and that was because I got the leftovers, not I. The Tambys got the leftovers when they constructed their house. One benefit to that is my yard is a little bit wider than everybody else's, but it's not quite as deep. So really, I would very much like to be able to preserve the center space in my yard and so that my kids can run around.
Okay, you're asking for a 50% variance.
I am.
Okay, and you say you don't think that's substantial.
I don't believe it is.
Okay, so if it's not substantial, then why can't you just keep it in compliance? For the,
Because every foot counts to keep the center of the yard as wide open as possible. I guess, that's not, please don't, it's not my decision how substantial or whether or not it should be allowed. That's entirely up to you folk. But, and I may think it's not substantial and you may find otherwise. But I just, 5 feet for a 10-foot setback, 50% may be substantial in your mind, but for me, it's just not a very, I don't consider 10 a very large number either, so I guess
okay. How many children do you have?
I have
Since-
3 boys,
Okay, and their ages?
1, 2, and 6.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you'd like the space for them to play in.
Yep.
But I was there, and I noticed that all the playthings are on the other side of the yard. The swing, the slide, whatever else there was there.
Yeah, the pool seems to be in that spot or towards that portion of the yard, and that's where they do most of their running.
Okay. Are you planning on having any electricity going out there?
Not at this time.
Are you thinking about it in the future?
It's possible. Of course, that would require a permit and all the other goings-on that would be required to do that. And if that should happen, I don't know that it's not permissible, but you'll at least see me in the development office for an application.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay?
I got a couple.
Go ahead.
You have you say different lot, it's really a weird lot, isn't it? I mean, it's cut off in the back, it's not square. I mean, if you want to put that up on the thing so people at home can see, okay, you can just clip it up on the board, and they'll zoom in on it. And then I'll ask you to point out where you want. So it's not exactly a square lot, there's a little cutoff there, right?
Yeah, so originally there was this finger over here on the corner, and then the Tambys worked it so that they could make it a little more normal. And I would propose to put the shed in the back corner, out of the way of most of the yard.
Okay, so
There's
it's,
also,
Go ahead.
in my neighbor's yard, a shed on the other side. Just seemed to cluster together, I guess, is a.
yeah, point to where that other shed is.
The other shed is over here, just the side of the fence that's in
So
the
they're right in tandem, is what you're saying, correct?
Essentially, they would.
And you show 10 foot to the one side of the property, and really all you want is 5 foot on the back side.
On the back side.
If you made that 10 foot, the shed would be looking instead of in your yard, it'd kind of be looking towards your other fence, am I correct? If you took the 5 foot and made it to 10,
It would push it forward into the, as I look at the photo, to the left. so-
yeah, so it wouldn't be pointing towards your backyard, it would kind of be pointing almost towards your other fence.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that why you probably want it more than, I know you
not.
you talk
Yeah.
about substantial, et cetera,
Yeah.
but its orientation to your yard is what we're referring to.
Yeah, ideally, I'm trying to keep it orientated to the house so that it flows with the presentation, so it's not cockeyed or, stand out in any odd manner.
That's all I have.
I have another question then, when you mention that. The yard immediately behind you has a shed which is close, I don't know if it's the one right behind you or the one next to that, it was hard to tell,
Yeah.
that has a shed close to their home? In
I
other
bel-
words, it's close to the back of their home.
I believe it's a garage.
Is that what it is, that little?
Yeah, so as you're standing in my backyard and you look directly back, there's a white
Right.
house.
I look back and then to the left a little bit.
Okay, yes.
That
okay.
is a shed, right?
That is a shed.
Yeah, okay. Now, the people who are directly behind you, when I was there, were out in their yard. And I'm wondering, their view, if you put this shed at this angle, how does that look from their yard?
I would imagine it looks like the back of a shed. I
mean, it's not as nice as having the straight line
It-
as the shed on your right and the shed on your left.
Well, I believe it'll look like it lines up with our house. Obviously, that rear lot line is skewed from both our house positions. And I believe, not that I've seen the survey, but Ornella, the neighbor behind us, I believe that it might be close to in line with her house, the way that.
But wouldn't
the
it look
street-
nicer to someone looking at it to see two sheds lined up evenly, rather than having one way and one at an angle on the other way?
You know, I can't say that I would say that, yeah, that's a possibility. But, I think that, without having brought a letter from Ornella saying that she doesn't have a problem with the shed, and knowing that you can't just take my word on that.
Sure we
um,
can. Oh, we can.
Oh,
I mean,
I mean-
your testimony is evidence.
Okay, I mean, none of my neighbors have any problems with the sheds.
And that's based upon conversations you've had with them?
Conversations, in fact, the mailing goes out, and I have to say that every neighbor that I know that knows my phone number called and wanted to know what it was about. So after describing the shed, quite a few of them said, well, I think my shed's a little bit closer than 10 feet to our lot line. And I said, well,
Keep that under wraps.
A little tough now, when we're sitting on Channel 12.
pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah.
With a
So-
little levity there, I just have to say, I got a kick out of your number 5 here, where you say, when you choose to try and maintain an open space in your yard, the town code has inadvertently created the hardship, not just you.
Well,
I have some ownership.
We have a
I'm-
10-foot setback for sheds,
You do.
which is probably larger than most towns. I don't know that for sure, but everybody wants to use as much of their yard as they possibly can.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's common sense. And if we were to grant variances based on that argument each and every time, without other arguments, then we'd be really doing away with the statute,
Actually,
which is
you-
not our prerogative. It's the town board's
Yeah,
prerogative,
I
so.
believe the state law would come and look at you and say that, are you following your comp plan?
Right,
And
right.
if you're granting so many, shouldn't you change it in your code?
Right.
Dan, I want to make one comment, too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we do have setbacks is for fire safety.
Sure.
So that if you have other structures close to that, to your lot line, from adjoining properties and close to that shed, that makes it, less safe to have it less than 10 feet.
Sure.
So that's a consideration. And the other thing I wanted to point out is, everybody could make the argument that if you put it back 10 feet or 5 feet, you have 5 feet more of yard. So, I'm not sure if that's in and of itself enough to balance the fact that the code says otherwise.
Sure.
So let me, Mike, I'm sorry, you
Yeah,
finished?
sure, no,
Let me
I'm
ask you this question. From the drawing here, it looks as though only a portion of the 16-foot length on the back will be in violation.
And due to the angle of the backyard and the
Yeah.
angle of the shed, yes, if we took a 10-foot line and drew it through the shed, it wouldn't be all 16 feet of it. It would probably be just the back 16% of the shed.
16%, how'd you come up with 16? 1 foot, right?
Yeah,
Made it up,
15,
huh?
16, I was thinking of
Okay.
threes, a
Well,
third.
And the reason I ask that is because, at least in my mind, that comes into play on the issue of whether or not it's
Oh,
substantial.
sure,
I mean, it's not the whole back that's out of compliance, it's just kind of the corner.
it is true.
All right, anyone in the audience care to speak about this? No?
Yes, right here.
Okay. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 2. Joshua Silver, The Murray Law Firm, PLLC, 10 Maxwell Drive, Clifton Park, New York, 12065. On behalf of RG&E, requests an area variance from Article 11-11-7-6 of the code to allow the extension of existing utility communications tower at 1270 Plank Road. The property is owned by Rochester Gas and Electric Corp. and Zone RA-2. This is SBL number 095.03-1-33. This is application number 14Z-0030.
Hi, everybody.
Hiya.
My name is Josh Silver. I'm from the Murray Law Firm. I represent Rochester Gas and Electric Company. And I'm here in support of our application to install a 15-foot tower extension upon an existing 180-foot lattice structure tower that currently exists on RG&E's 19.4-acre parcel. In terms of the scope of the project, it's very minor. We're not disturbing any dirt. They come in with a crane, they attach it, they're done in a day. The purpose of the extension is to install a microwave antenna right at the top. The center line will be at the 195-foot level. And I heard you guys talking earlier. It's a 6-foot diameter microwave dish antenna. So the very top of the antenna will be 3 feet above that, so 198. And then in addition, there's a lightning whip that goes up 5 feet from the top also. So the uppermost portion of the tower, which would be the lightning whip, would be 195 feet. So the purpose of the microwave dish antenna is that it creates a line of sight link with NYSEG's adjacent service center, RG&E's adjacent service center. And
You represent NYSEG too?
yeah.
Good for you.
More or less, I mean, they're the same company, and this will tie into NYSEG's smart grid as well. And that's what this antenna is. It's smart grid technology.
Yep.
The tower also supports WiMAX antennas. These have the capability of reading people's smart meters to the extent that they exist in the area. And then also, it can detect outages on the transmission lines as well. So once the WiMAX picks up a problem, it gets beamed through the microwave antenna to the SOTUS service center. And then there's another microwave dish at 100 and, here, let me show you. It's 160 feet, and that's pouring in towards, I believe, the Lockport Service Center. So what we're talking about is creating a network of NYSEG service centers, and the end result of that is to enhance the reliability of their electrical delivery system throughout the state.
Yeah, your written application is very thorough on that point. It was well done. Do you mind if I interrupt you and just?
No, I'm done. Yeah, I'll open it up.
Is there going to be any need because of the height? You confused me a little bit on the height. Is there going to be any need for this to be lit?
No,
with one of
we
the-
have a
okay.
no action letter from the FAA confirming that it will not be lit. It's below 200 feet. We also have a letter from the FAA. The same letter indicates that the tower will not present any hazard to air traffic.
Okay, good. And what about a fall zone can you get into that a little bit for this tower?
Well, it's 195 feet at the top, and the size of the parcel is 19.4 acres. We're well within, this is the existing site. We're well within a fall zone equal to the height of the tower.
Okay. Okay, and is this made to collapse down if at all possible rather than
No,
timber over?
No, that was in fashion in constructing towers in the past. Ultimately, they just decided to make them stronger, make them so they don't fall down at all. Don't create a weak point in it. To speak to that, this tower will be built to the highest level of building code. They're a public utility. They're subject to even higher scrutiny than another tower provider.
Okay, and then the only other thing I'd like you to touch on is what differences in terms of the view are people going to see when they're in the area?
I actually brought photographs, which I can distribute to the board.
I think we got them.
I think we might have them.
Can I?
I think we have some. I just-
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Can I see the ones that you have?
Sure. We start there,
We changed them
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit to make them.
a little easier.
So, yeah, a little bit easier to understand. The upper corner shows the existing view.
Great.
And then the large picture shows the proposed view. That's done, an artist basically draws it in based upon his engineering drawings.
And I don't know if you can put these before and
Thank
after. Okay.
Sure.
Up there so folks can get a look at them.
That's kind of cool.
So these were photographs, they were taken from different viewpoints, so you can get the idea of, what it will look like depending on where you are.
Can I ask a question there?
Go ahead, sure, Mike.
Is this a totally new tower are they gonna take the old one out and put a new one in, or are they gonna add
The
a
old one,
section to it, or?
the old one's coming out. I think it's there as we stand here today, it's there, but it's coming out. And by the way, one thing I neglected to mention is that we did, last week, I was before the planning board on site plan approval and special use permit, both of which were approved with the only condition that they replace some of the dying trees that surround the site.
But it looks similar in construction and
Yeah.
design, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask just one thing?
Of course.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you're gonna take one of those towers, there's two towers there.
Yes.
You're gonna take one of them down, the one that's kinda to the right with all the cables up it. You're gonna take that one down, or you're gonna add to it?
The,
Tower on the left.
There's two towers there now.
Yeah.
Does one of them come completely down and you build a new one, or are you adding to one?
the new one's there.
Okay,
We-
that's
we-
what I
yeah,
thought. So those
yeah.
two, so what you're referring to when you say take it down, when you're through, there'll only be one tower there?
That's correct,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, that clears it up.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay, no
okay.
problem. So-
Okay.
And that's the one on the left in the picture?
That is, the new tower is the one on
Not
the
complete without
the
the white
left.
Yeah,
thing.
because it's got the.
Yeah.
the double.
Okay, any further board questions?
Nope.
Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's considerably shorter than the other one.
Application number 3, Joseph Dubolino, 262 Imperial Circle, Rochester, New York, 14617. Requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-72 and Article 10-10-4 of the code to allow a coffee shop cafe at 1183 Bay Road. The property is owned by the Cleveland Mary Group LLC and is Zone LB. This is application number 093.11, or SBL number 09311-1-44. This is application number 14Z-0032.
Good evening. My name's Joe Dubolino. I live at 262 Imperial Circle, West Arundecoit. My wife and I are looking to open a coffee shop cafe business at this 1183 Bay Road Plaza, and are here tonight in hopes of your consideration to do such. We brought along, I'm sorry we didn't have enough copies for everyone as far as the petition goes, but I'm sure you've seen the petition. We already have a fairly, good response from just Tommy Gibbons, who is the owner of the laundromat in that same plaza, is a fireman, and very nice gentleman. And he was kind enough to put a petition in his laundromat for us, and we've already received overwhelming support of over 200 signatures, including the lady that Mr. Morehouse was concerned about when we first started speaking to him about the parking issue that had been there at one time. At any rate, we want to assure you that that's all been settled and resolved completely. And her signature is right on there with a big mark, you know, saying that she's completely in favor of everything there. Why we think it would be a good idea is because there is nothing else there similar to that in the area. And the proximity of the laundromat and other businesses, the barber shops and so on, would all serve to help and enhance our business, and likewise the customer base that is there, as well as the YMCA being behind us right now does not have any kind of a smoothie bar or anything like that. And part of what we plan to do is make available a lot of very healthy drinks and have like I understand, I don't laugh when I say a skinny conscious menu. Okay, so that,
Talking to the
yeah,
wrong
there'll be
guy
a lot
here,
of things with calories and things that, you know, people that are working out and so on want protein shakes and so on, so a lot of that, I won't be drinking them. But we would have a full variety of everything involved with, the good thing that I'm really excited about here and that puts very little strain on anything as far as the environment goes is there's not going to be any grease associated with any kind of a restaurant system whatsoever. There's no frying or open flame cooking whatsoever. Everything is electric and just wraps, paninis, you know, bagel sandwiches, and all that we'll have is toaster ovens and panini grills for the most part. I think you all have a copy of what our proposed changes were of the actual location itself, and they're specifically, everything that's in there right now is just a cosmetic change. The one copy that you have here is the existing floor plan, and the only thing that's different, this is Bay Road out here, the only thing that's different is that where the entryway is here, there will be a vestibule put in there before the cold weather comes. We plan on putting a vestibule for a windbreak. And this area that was an exam room, because this was a chiropractor's office before us, this room, this wall will be taken down. And these are just partition walls. These walls only go to the drop ceiling. None of them are framed walls or what you call structural walls at all. Other than that, the new picture shows that everything pretty much is the same. The hallway, there will be an additional entrance, and there's additional parking throughout. And I'm assuming that everyone is pretty much familiar with the plaza and how it's set up, but there's a big circular parking lot. Matter of fact, the laundromat way over here has a drive-up. One of the only laundromats I've ever seen with a drive-up. This is basically what the floor plan would look like, and of course, everything will be done to whatever code that the health department calls for. I think that's basically all that we have to do. My wife and I, just so you know, you have a background, we've had a lot of experience in the restaurant business. We're not beginners coming into it. Besides this venture, we've also had an Italian restaurant in the city for 22 and a half years, and before that, we had a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado for 7 years. So we're not coming not knowing what we have a little background on what we're doing. Other than that, if there's any questions,
No, you actually put on a very good presentation.
oh, okay, thank you.
So there's no cooking or frying, so I don't have to ask about noxious odors?
Nothing like that at all,
I mean,
sir.
I certainly don't look like a panini guy myself,
Yeah.
but I guess it's,
Well,
you
you
just
have a
put it
lot
in a
of-
little thing and cook it.
A lot of homemade soups. My wife makes wonderful homemade soups, so there'll be soups and salads and a lot of sandwiches and so on. But anything that's cooked will be either, we will have a convection oven, but again, electric, and everything that is cooked like that will be like slow cooked in crock pots or convection ovens and so on like that. You know, we're gonna have a really nice, probably 3 or 4 different homemade breads and nice, we already do our own panini breads where we are now. And,
Okay, and there's plenty of parking, there's great
A lot of
ingress and
parking.
egress because of the shopping center?
Yes, there is.
Are you gonna add any exterior lighting? In other words, are you gonna put any more lights in the front?
No,
or-
sir.
Okay, and
No,
how
the
about
pl-
your sign? It's
The
gonna be
sign is
within
what's
the-
already there. It's just all we're getting is a
Okay.
plastic insert for what's already there.
And it's within code, so
Yes,
that's not
sir.
a problem. And I just wanna say that you did turn in 20 pages of signatures, and I hope if everybody here eats there,
I hope so, too.
you'll be looking for a
I
larger
really do. I'm
building.
I'm keeping a copy to call them if they don't.
That's right, so, but other than that, what's the name of your business?
Well, that's kind of up in the air. My wife kind of likes Cafe Mama's Cafe, or Coffee Mama's Cafe, excuse me. But we had also talked at one time about Sandina Coffee Shop. That's my wife's name.
Okay, well, good luck, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you kindly. Anyone else?
What will your hours of operation be?
That's something, ma'am, that we're not really quite sure of right now, and we've already started talking to some of the people in the plaza, like the laundromat people, to get an idea and a feel for what is needed, you know, and what we obviously don't want to spend extra money that we don't need on payroll, but at the same time, we want to be there and accessible for when certain people go. I know a lot of people, believe it or not, again, who get up very early in the morning and go to work out before they go to work. I'm not one of them. But there's a lot of people that do this, and I guess they want coffee or whatever after. So, you know, these are all things that we do have to learn about that aspect of the business. So in the beginning, we'll probably stay open 7 to 7, probably 6 days a week, and then fine tune it from there.
Okay, and how many employees will you have?
Probably, we're thinking 5 to 6 employees, and there would probably be 2 or 3 of them. 2 of them would be part-time, and the rest would be full-time, at least 3. And again, figuring out the busy times when we'd have extra people and so on.
And what about the seating? How many people can you hold?
As far as the size of the actual dining area itself right now is, we're looking at a little over 400 feet, and we're figuring about 30 seats right now.
And what about deliveries? How will your deliveries be handled?
Our food deliveries, not our, I don't think we're going to offer a delivery service.
No, I meant
The food delivery would be coming through the back, and that's where our storerooms and everything are, is right there as well. The good thing is that even if a truck is parked straight across, which they probably wouldn't have to, the back parking lot is huge. There's a lot of room where cars would still be able to get around there. Tommy expressed an interest in saying that, in time, if there was ever a need down the road and it got to be where it was real busy here and things got really crazy, he owns all that land where the parking lot stops. There's a lot of big area of flat, just lawn, that he could turn into parking lot if it ever became necessary. There's an additional 25, 30 parking spaces there if you needed it. But
Would the deliveries probably be during the day?
they would, yes, they would probably be. Usually what we do right now is we try to do them for the middle of the day, like between 3 o'clock and 4:30, something like that, when we have the least amount of business. So we're able to check them in and put them away and so on, the things that need to be done. But again, here, depending on the type of, the one thing that we do know, and not knowing a real lot about the coffee business, is that you have to buy your coffee very fresh all the time and roast it yourself to have a good cup of coffee. So that's the type of thing that, will be coming at least once a week. But again, most of what we're going to be getting are the smaller vans. They're just the regular small trucks. They're not any big, like the Cisco vans or anything like that.
Okay. And are you planning on having any little tables outdoors?
Well, there's room for a couple small two-top tables directly out in front, and Tom has said that that would probably be okay. But, I don't even know if we're going to do that, because it might be a little tight, for the people to be able to walk through there and so on, so I might not. There's already picnic tables out in the front, in that area that he has between Bay Road itself and the parking lot. He's got a picnic table or 2 right there, and,
So you'll probably use those?
or in the back, again, in that big lawn area back there, he's got room for 15 picnic tables if he wanted them, but, I mean, if we needed seating or something like that, that's something to consider down the road. I hope that's a problem.
You hope it is. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Anyone else on the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay. No?
Well, good.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We just call you tomorrow, Mr. Morris, is that good? Thank you.
Application 4, as said earlier, has been withdrawn. Application number 5, Philip William, PW Fitness Incorporated, 2200 Penfield Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-77 and Article 10-10-4 of the code to allow a fitness center at 2200 Penfield Road. The property is owned by Penfair Plaza LLC and is Zone GB. This is 140.01-1-3.11. This is application number 14Z-0034.
Hi, my name is Phil Williams. I'm here for a change of use permit. I'm the owner of PW Fitness Incorporated at 2200 Penfield Road. I'm here to basically just get the change of use permit from the previous owner that had it, or a new one, I should say. And basically, the business before has been in existence there in 14 years, so we're running it. Basically, it's the same type of business as far as a fitness facility and what we're providing to the community. I'm also wanted to express that we are in the possibility of looking to do a 24-hour facility. We know that we have to be within a certain zone area, which we know we are in and stuff like that. I just wanted to express that we're going through the process, looking into putting the camera systems. We know the lighting system is already set for 24 hours in the facility. We spoke to the property owner, Anthony Comparado, and he's okay with having the business ran as that, as long as we're meeting the standards for the codes and everything that you guys set forth. So that's where I'm at right now. Any questions?
No real changes then from the previous, I mean, can you describe any changes that happened from when it was Lifetime to now?
We've already updated equipment, we've changed carpets, we've been updating the bathroom facilities and stuff like that. We've already increased our membership. We've been helping the community out as far as providing for different services as far as like baseball teams locally and different services like that.
Okay. Do you know if the staff numbers have stayed the same?
The staff numbers are going to be increasing because we are going to have staff. They may not be front desk attendants overnight, but we're having cleaning staff over there to partially supervise and also clean the facility overnight.
Okay. That's all I have.
Anybody else on the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you. Sure, come on up.
Yeah, you know them. You know we prefer you being right up front in the camera.
It's Monica Gorlick, South Village Trail. You mentioned 24 hours. Why?
Just like the gentleman before me, people come in very early. They want that type of service. They go in early. They want workouts just as well as people that work.
No, that's 6
3
a.m. if you
shifts.
want, or like the Y, 5 o'clock. 24, that's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, that's round the clock. And
Right. We've gotten response from our members that have asked for that because some of them are B shift workers, C shift workers. They get out at 11 o'clock, they go home and they try to sleep for 4 hours, which doesn't really help them to get through their services to provide their work to the community also. So we're just trying to accommodate their schedules.
I want you to succeed, but I'm against 24 hours. I would like to see set hours. Nothing personal, sweetheart, but you will succeed. I know the business.
Our
well.
biggest thing is we have a competition against a YMCA community that right now is trying to grow larger in the community, as we're a small business owner right around the corner trying to compete. We don't have the volume, so our alternative is to give a different service that they can't provide.
Let me just get a little clarity. You're not currently asking for 24 hours. That's just something you're looking for
That's
in the
something
future,
we've
right?
looked
I mean,
in for.
currently, we're not looking at a 24-hour facility.
No, I mean, we're looking into that as soon as possible because of the services.
Right, but this application doesn't cover the 24-hour.
Right.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much.
He works out in the morning before coffee.
Application number 6, Robert Wolf, R.A., Wolf Architecture, 3 North Main Street, Honeycomb Falls, New York, 14472. On behalf of Eyesight, request area variances from Article 3-3-68-C, Article 4-4-11, Article 4-4-11-G, to allow the construction of an office with less setback, smaller parking spaces, and less parking spaces than required, and a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-11-E and Article 7-7-11, or just -13-B, and Article 7-7-13-C of the code to allow a sign graphic greater than 50% of the sign area, more building-mounted signage than allowed, and more than one building-mounted sign at 2142 Penfield Road. The property is owned by Lillian Detweiler and is zoned BNR. This is SBL number 139.08-1-73. This is application number 14Z-0035.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Wolf with Wolf Architecture at 3 North Main Street in Honeyway Falls, New York. We're here in support of the application of Dr. Verone and Dr. Peters to construct a new eyesight facility. They are currently operating an existing facility just down the road from this proposed site. And I want to be brief because I know you've got a lot going on tonight. And so I'll just talk a little bit about the project, which is up on the screen right now. The doctors would like to have a very open feeling, and so we've introduced some windows, and the center proportions are very similar to classically proportioned buildings. And so we're trying to incorporate both kind of a modern design aesthetic that's going to go into the future, but also to provide a building that's based on classical design principles. The design may adjust from this. This is kind of our draft, but we think the plan and the elevation are fairly settled at this point. The light shades on the front of the building especially are kind of evolving, but we've done light studies to make sure that with these open windows, the glare, et cetera, that comes into the building isn't excessive. So there may be some minor adjustments to the facade, but we think we're fairly close. And as you look at the landscaping and the closer setback to Penfield Road, it's kind of adhering to Penfield's stated goals of having a more pedestrian-friendly, more visually appealing built environment. And so we're trying to come up closer to the street to be inviting. And so as I go through the variances, I'll play this animation that talks about what it's like to drive around this project. We want there to be adequate signage, especially on the Penfield Road side, to promote vehicular safety. And as you can see to the, well, let me back up a little bit. On this side, we've got Summit Federal Credit Union, and so our neighbor to the east is Summit, and to the west is a residence that's been converted into a business. Just talking about our variances, we are asking for a number of variances. However, the planning board, when we met with them, did support all of the variances that we've requested. So we think that that speaks to our case. Just to go through them fairly quickly, the Penfield zoning code requires that we have 31 parking spaces. The fact that we're having a rear access lane gives us relief of 20%, which brings us down to 25 spaces required by the current Penfield zoning code. The Monroe County parking study, which has been commonly referred to, I believe, in the town as a reasonable standard, requests for a building of this size between 20 and 21 spaces, and we're proposing to provide 20. And that concurs with the doctor's own assessment of what their future needs will be, including a doubling of their current patient load. So they feel that's a very conservative number. They aren't interested in moving into a project that has parking issues. So they've looked at this very, very closely and feel strongly that 20 is a good number for their current and future needs. Should parking situations arise, which we don't anticipate and they don't anticipate, they have talked to Summit Federal Credit Union to the west, and one of the things that Dr. Verone passed out to you is a contract that Summit has signed, and it's, if the doctors wish to execute it in the future, adding 3 more parking spaces that they'll be able to use for their use in the future. Also, the neighbor to the west offered up 3 additional parking spaces should the need arise for the doctors to use that. In addition to that, the doctors could also extend their hours to accommodate a less dense parking load on their current structure. And in the event of, something that nobody could foresee, perhaps using the Wegmans Park and Ride lot across the street to pick up employees and drive them back to the site. And again, this is all if come, maybe, probably will never be used, but the doctors are just very intent to close on this property and want to provide all assurances that they've considered the parking requirements and are ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that that's not a concern. We're requesting a smaller space size, going from 20 by 10 to 9 by 18. That's fairly standard for the town. The front setback, the town currently requires 80 feet. We're proposing 40 feet. And I'd like to point out that based on the current site plan, the rear access has us pushed to the front of the site. So this is the rear access to the north, and so it necessarily pushes everything toward the south or Penfield Road side. And so we're asking for 40 feet to the base of the building and 36 feet 6 inches to the overhang on the front. We're also asking for a 15-foot variance on this side. And as you can see, it's the drive-through lane of Summit Credit Union. Summit has provided us a letter in support of this layout, and it's also a drive-through. So we feel that it's a fairly minor request
I
on
want
it.
to stop you just for a minute.
Sure.
You just mentioned 15-foot variance. You're requesting a 5-foot variance.
Yeah, thank you.
Foot setback.
Yes, we're going from 20 to 15, so thank you, Harold.
It's tremendously different.
Yeah, for the record. Let's see. And as far as the signage package, we are proposing some signage variances. I would like to point out that we're asking for the 2 that the town of Penfield allows in their code. Because we're bringing cars in from the rear, we're requesting 1 freestanding sign in this location, 1 building-mounted sign in this location, and 1, we're calling it a mural. In our write-up, we called it a graphic. And in reading the Penfield town ordinance as far as the definition of a sign, I would put forth that there's very little on the surface of this building that wouldn't qualify as a sign. The way it's written, I think it's meant to be very inclusive, and I understand the reasoning for that. I think it's reasonable for towns to want to take a close look at what applicants want to do. And I'll go back to our exterior drive-through. The reason we put this on here really wasn't to advertise the business. It was to provide a little articulation to the back of the building. And so what we're calling the mural or the graphic is right here. It's very large. It's more at the scale of an elevation, a face of the building instead of a sign. It's meant to be an eye chart, which is a little kind of tongue-in-cheek. This is an eye doctor's optical location, and so, but it's also meant to provide a little interest. It's also on the rear access portion of the building, so it's something that relatively few people are ever going to see. Only those that are driving along the rear of the building. Here's our other freestanding sign in the back, and then 1 above the door. If we were to lose one, which I truly hope we don't, I would propose that this would be it, because I think this is really important for safety, that people know where to pull in to go to the eye doctor. A confused motorist is a dangerous motorist, and there are a fair number of elderly patients that come here. Also, with the mural, I think it's just a level of interest. That's, as an advocate for the built environment, I want to advocate for that. One last thing I'd like to show you is just a quick run through the interior of the building. So again, if you look at the counter, it kind of grows into a spiral stair, and then you walk in, there's this great hall where the opticians will help to fit patients with glasses. Sunlight's going to be coming in, but that will be mitigated by sun shading devices. And on the second floor is a lab, and then the doctor's offices. Down at the end, it's a place, a waiting area for patients, but also is intended to be child-friendly, so that it's a place that people are going to want to go and relax and not mind waiting for their eye visit. Did you have anything you wanted to add? Or? No, I just want to make sure we get that time. Okay. So I guess at this point, we'd like to open it up for questions or
Sure.
whatever you'd like to.
Can you describe that mural a little more in terms of its construction? Is that built on, is that actually wood built on the side of the building? Is it a hanging canvas? Is it, or unknown at this time?
Well, it's one of those things that's in transition. I would love to see it as kind of a solid letter attached to the side. However, for ease of construction purposes, maybe canvas with the letters printed on it, the graphic printed on it. I just feel that from the rear of the elevation, it's important to articulate something on that facade, just from a visual interest is really my strongest feeling.
Yeah. As you spoke, the code allows one building mounted sign, one free mounted sign, and one standing sign out front. If you were to choose, from the Penfield Road side, if you were to say, we'd rather have our freestanding sign, our building mounted sign, since you're, trying to get traffic coming by, which one would you look as more of a priority?
On the Penfield Road side, the freestanding sign by a mile, because it's much more visible and being perpendicular to the line of traffic, it's more effective.
Okay.
However, I do think it's important that there's something on the building, because most people are going to be driving by, and at that speed, when they go to look at it, I think it's much more difficult to pick up a building than on the rear access side, which is why, if we are going to lose one, I'd propose it to be the building mounted on the rear side of the building.
Okay. In terms of the parking, that agreement you have, how would you designate, if you needed those extra spots that people would know to park at the credit union as opposed to at the eyesight location?
I'm Dr. Justin Verone, one of the owners of the practice and buyers of the building. The way we set up the agreement is that would be employees only, actually. So, and we haven't really designated anything with Belanca Realty because that was more informal at this point, but they did make that commitment. But with Summit, we said it was going to be employees only. So we really just wanted to give you guys the reassurances that we are prepared to try to get to the number that you guys are looking at. Even though I don't think we're going to need that many, I want to give you guys that reassurance. But that would be employees only, to answer your question directly.
How did you determine the number of parking spots that you would need based on your past practice? And
we did some studies, counted how many people are in our office at sort of several points in the day. Our peak times are like 9 to 10 a.m. and then also like between 4 and 5 p.m. And typically we have about 9 employees there and about anywhere from 4 to 6 patients or customers. So we extrapolated from that, sort of 14, 15 number up to 20, which kind of gave us the doubling of the amount of patients that we typically currently handle. And that's where that number came from that Rob alluded to. So it was mainly just on internal studies that we did at various peak points that try to catch our peak time when we have the most people at our office.
with the freestanding signs and also the building mounted signs, hours of being lit, would they be lit all the time? Would the freestanding signs be lit, or would they be dark at night?
That's a good question. We hadn't discussed that, but
No, we hadn't really discussed that. I would propose that the freestanding sign near Penfield Road be lit, just to kind of, as a means of advertising it and to let people know it's there, and the rest of them would be dim.
Okay.
particularly, I think the stuff in the back, I think that's more making sure our elderly patients or our patients who don't see very well, which we do have a number of those being eye doctors, coming into the practice. So, maybe the mural, if we can get you guys to agree to maybe some uplighting or backlighting on that or something, but I don't think it would be lit per se. But I would definitely want the one on the front of the building on 441 and potentially the one out by the road to have some sort of, lighting just from a visibility and marketing standpoint. So.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, I got some too.
Do you have any renderings of what the actual freestanding sign would look like?
In our package, we did give those. They aren't colorized, but we describe them. The letters would be white enamel, internally lit on the freestanding Penfield Road sign. And they have stainless steel returns, so they'd be kind of in 3D with the faces white. The sides would be stainless steel, and then the background of the signs would match the color of the panel for the building. So it would be tied into the look of the building that way.
And how tall would this freestanding sign be?
We've got the frame as being 5 feet by 5 feet, and it'd be, I don't know exactly how far it's elevated off the ground, but it'd be fairly close to the ground, I believe. Let's start it off again. Yeah, so it sits very close to the ground, but I think the dimensions we had on the submission were 5 feet by 5 feet. with the actual area of the letters falling within the zoning code ordinance of 20 square feet.
Okay. And will all the signs be identical?
They'll be, no, they won't. The freestanding signs will have a solid back. The building-mounted ones will have a more kind of see-through look. They won't have as big of a plaque on the back, but they'll be kind of letters seemingly floating in front of the building or on top of the building.
And that eye chart that you're thinking about in the back, whether you're calling it a sign or a mural, whatever you're calling it, how will that be, what colors will that be?
We would want it to, it's, the exterior material at this point is proposed to be wood, and so it would ideally be kind of a dark-colored letter with the wood or a compatible color with the wood as a background, so kind of dark letters on a lighter background.
Is it going to be a true eye chart?
That's the intention.
With your help, yes.
So we can go by and see if we need,
I don't know if it'll be used, but
that way we'll know if we have to come in or not, if we
That's
can see
right.
it.
If they have to use that chart, we're in trouble.
it's all about community service, you know, any free service they can give.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Tell you the truth, I think you have to explain that eye chart a little bit farther for calling it a mural rather than a sign. Then all of a sudden it's wooden with letters on it, and tell me what the difference between wooden with letters on it than letters on your sign that says eyesight. Why is one a sign and one's a mural?
I think one is a mural because, or a graphic as we call it, because it doesn't necessarily advertise a brand. I think that's the key difference. It takes it out of the commercial realm and puts it more.
Excuse me, but an eye chart doesn't advertise an eye doctor?
An eye doctor, but not a brand, not the company, the eyesight folks.
Oh, okay.
So it's not specific to a particular business, but a type of business.
So a hamburger on the side of McDonald's doesn't advertise for McDonald's?
No, I would argue yes, that it does
Okay.
not.
You're entitled to argue, that's fine.
But it represents a restaurant, but not a particular restaurant. And I think that takes it out of the, obviously, it helps people identify it as an eye doctor's location, but it doesn't say we are eyesight. And I think.
Okay. All right, then let me get to your
It's
other.
in the gray area, there's no doubt about it. We won't
Yeah.
argue that, but.
Then let's get to the other signs. You want a freestanding sign on the 441 side,
Yes,
and it says eyesight on the building, right?
yes.
Those are the most important to you? I mean, why? There's no driveway there.
Yes, but this is the one that maybe the traffic count on Penfield Road is much greater than anything on the rear access road.
Okay, so then what you're saying, see, this is your argument. I need those two for 441 to see them. Now you drive around the back of the building, and I need that one sign because old people are gonna crash into things. I mean, that's the sale that everyone that would come in here with a building would tell us, wouldn't it?
I think once you're asking people to put a rear access road, and so they've got another line of public traffic on a different side of the building, I think that creates a logical need for a secondary, different type of signage on the back to direct people in.
Okay, so a direction, you're calling one in the back a directional sign more than a
Yeah,
sign?
It's more to point people into the parking area as opposed to say, we are eyesight.
Okay.
If I could just add.
Yeah.
I know the town hopes to get that light down by Harris Road eventually, that access road all the way down there. I think you want to think about the people that are coming behind 5 or so lots from Harris Road. Eventually, it might be 5 or 10 years before this happens, but people coming from that direction, it's a much longer way. With this direction, they're going to go past Summit, left into Rinaldi's Plaza, and then go left behind Summit. And it's a little more feasible to not get lost in there. But you'd be surprised. I mean, we're in Rinaldi's Plaza, right on the edge there, the first business there. And you'd be surprised. People pull into the plaza, and then they make the right there, and then we're right there on the left, and they go right by it.
Yeah. No,
And
I
that's with a
understand.
sign facing.
I mean, 441 is quite busy, and I understand why you maybe want the freestanding sign or the building sign on 441.
Yeah.
But once people know you're there, then they're not gonna pass it. I mean, that's our point. Is it advertisement, or is it you're trying to show your location?
Well, I mean, we definitely feel that you know, the sign in the back, I think, is more, at some level, I think we're gonna have accidents back there if we disqualify that. I think because the access road is there, we're asking for a little leniency on the signage thing, because we feel it.
And if the sign on the building in the back that says eyesight,
The one on the building?
yeah, the one on the
Yeah.
building in the back, if that said, if you got the freestanding sign in the back,
Yeah.
and that one said entrance, wouldn't that kind of, that would be a directional sign, as to say, this is the entrance to the building, more than eyesight. See what I mean?
I think that's
One's an advertisement, one's a direction.
I think that's a fair statement, that the one over the rear door right now is a little gratuitous on our part, but. you
Oh,
know,
go for the moon, I got
Yeah,
it.
as a business, you want to get what you can, I guess.
I get it, I understand. Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else from the board? Anyone in the audience? Come on up.
Monica Gorlick, South Village Trail again. I have some notes here.
Okay.
But I have to tell you, none of this that they've shown is at all offensive. If anything, it brings Penfield into the 21st century, modernizes it, and I do believe if you have a back of a building, you do need to show direction that, yes, here is an entrance, here, this is also part of eyesight. And that definitely, that eye chart is not a sign. And you're talking about hamburgers, you could put a hamburger sign on Wendy's, any of those fast food places. Yeah, it's a hamburger. That's just showing you a modern building. It's a medical building. You don't want this to look like a bank or Wegmans or anything like that. So just a few notes I have here. Since I've been a patient of eyesight, they've outgrown the space they are occupying at present, and this new building is necessary. The building has eye appeal, will improve the appearance of Penfield, bring Penfield into the 21st century, and draw others here to shop, and hopefully want others to build here and improve the economy. Something like this would bring maybe other businesses here. You started bringing in other medical buildings. You got that Smiley Tooth place, whatever, you know.
It's a competitor, careful.
No, that's teeth. No, one's eyes, one's teeth. But you're bringing people in, and you want, if I was looking for a home now, I would want to know that there's good medical care around me, easy access to it, and I think it's a great idea to have now I understand what a freestanding sign is. The freestanding on 441, definitely, because people whiz by, they'll see that. And the one in the back on that access road, you need that, because some people will, instead of coming in the front, will go in the back way. So you need that sign there too. I'm really hoping that you give them what they want, because it's not anything that's going to be offensive. It's something that will improve Penfield, bring it back on the map, because when we moved here, we were told Penfield, Perrington, Pittsford, the 3 Ps, upscale, everything like that. Well, my little P here is going behind. I want you to bring it back up. So it's not all my notes, but it's an upscale medical building. Give it to them, and I've said my piece.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Sure. Okay. You better not disagree. Long walk home.
Okay, Dennis Gorlick, 54 South Village Trail, Penfield. If I did, I would be in trouble. We disagree all the time. I know there's a lot of things that are going on in terms of what they're asking for. I just want to spend a minute talking about the building itself. What really impresses me, besides the fact that I know that it's a really, it's a good business and it's a local business, and, we run into Dr. Verone at Menchie's getting yogurt with the family and stuff, so he's definitely a local boy, is that I really like the design. I think it's a really interesting building that it raises itself above a lot of the buildings that are in the area. Summit is nice, but this has got something a little extra. And I know you have concern about the graphics in the back. I'll use your phrase, the graphics in the back. I think that's one of those things that people really talk about as being kind of a really interesting architectural detail in a building that you just don't see anyplace. And I kind of like that. I really support that idea. I think it's worthwhile. I don't see it as an advertisement, but I see it as a really interesting feature that kind of elevates a lot of the buildings in the area. So I definitely support it for that reason.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to make sure you guys are aware that we have full support from neighbors on both sides for everything here. And not just, with the parking support, but they support all the variances we're applying for. They are 100% behind us on east and west. I think you
Okay.
guys know that already, but I just
Yeah,
wanted-
it's headed somewhere in some of the documents we have, but thanks. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Application number 7, Curtis Ziegler, AutoZone, 123 South Front Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38103. Requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-B, Article 7-7-13-B, and Article 7-7-13-C of the code to allow a larger freestanding sign, more building-mounted signage than allowed, and more than one building-mounted sign at 1635 Penfield Road. The property is owned by DDR Panorama Plaza LLC and is Zone GB. This is SBL number 138.08-1-2.3. This is application number 14Z-0036.
Good evening. I am not Curtis Ziegler. I am Brian Siddle with AutoZone. Curtis was traveling elsewhere this week, and I'm actually the national sign manager for AutoZone, so I felt that it be my duty to come and speak on behalf of this variance this evening. As stated by Mr. Morehouse, we are requesting a variance for 3 additional building signs, which would total 4 building signs for the building walls. We're currently only allowed the 1 wall sign, not to exceed 2 square feet per linear foot of building frontage, which in this case, the building wall is 94.66 linear feet. Therefore, we would be allowed the 189.32 square feet of signage based on the 2 square feet per. Instead of having the one sign at 189 square feet, we are asking to be allowed 4 total wall signs, which will be 193 square feet altogether. So there will only be, 4 square feet over, a little less than 4 square feet over the total we would be allowed for one sign. If I may, I'll go through the points real quick on the 5 points that we should be allowed. The proposed signs barely exceed the square feet allowed for one sign. We're allowed 189 square feet for one sign, and we're asking for 193 square feet for 4 wall signs combined. That's 79, 38, 38, and 38 for 193. The signs are not obnoxiously large, and they are not harmful to the character of the surrounding areas. Number 2, the proposed signs will not be detrimental to the surrounding properties. The signs are relatively small compared to signs that we normally do. We feel that the signs we are requesting are reasonable in size, and we are not trying to achieve overkill. We are simply trying to achieve the maximum visibility to our store without compromising the integrity and the aesthetic of the area. Number 3, there are no hazards created by this request. The signs are professionally installed on the building walls with ample fasteners and installation methods. Number 4, going back to question 2, the signs proposed will not harm or affect the area in any way. The signs are classic channel letter style. They are only illuminated between the hours from dusk until 9 p.m. when the store will close. They are very mild red when illuminated at night, which is not a harsh color illuminated at night if you've ever seen red illuminated at night. Number 5, the building in question does sit quite a piece from the road. It's 101 feet from the main road and 87 feet from the main driveway. These setbacks greater than 50 feet cause the visibility to be even more crucial. In a shopping center area such as this, it is necessary to have signs on all sides of the building so that your business is visible to all parties within the shopping center, especially considering the small requirements for the monument sign, which we plan to abide by. And number 6, I believe that there was a note on the agenda that said that we were asking for a larger freestanding sign, but we are not requesting a larger freestanding sign. We are willing to comply with the 20 square feet allowed, and we are going to propose the sign at 8 feet in height, which is 12 feet less than allowed. So there it is, and then the questions that you all may have, I'll
Yeah, my understanding of what you want are, each sign is gonna say AutoZone.
Correct.
At least the three on the front face. The front face has that kind of a swoosh on the left.
Yes, sir, the
and is-
accelerator
yeah,
stripes.
it is-
Yep.
And is a little bit larger. Is that correct?
Correct,
Fair
because of the stripes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Is the actual lettering, the AutoZone wording itself, the same size? I think it's still a little larger, right? Not much, but,
Yeah, I think the front wall sign, let's see, let me get to my elevations here. The front wall sign is a 32-inch max height. That's the size of the stripe maximum height, and the A and the Z in auto and zone. The UTO and auto and the ONE and zone are slightly smaller, of course, because they're lowercase letters, not capitalized. The other three signs on the building are 30 inches in height. They're just 2 inches smaller. And that, again, is the 30 inches is the A and the Z. The lowercase letters are significantly smaller.
are the letters themselves gonna be lit, or is this part of a, is there a white background? It's kinda hard to tell.
No, sir, it'll be the letters themselves. There will not be any lighting to the background.
So what you'll see in the back is actually the building itself.
Correct.
Behind it. Can you explain to me why you feel you need the words AutoZone on all four sides of the building?
Yes, sir. Again, going back to the fact that the building is set quite a piece from the road, and we are in a shopping center that has, if I counted right, almost 7 entrances from different parts around the shopping center. So the traffic flows can be coming from anywhere in the shopping center, and any of our walls will be visible from any different direction. So that we want to maximize our visibility to our store, to any motorist that may be in the back of the shopping center, see the back of the building, they say, there's AutoZone, and they pull around, or see the side of the building, or see the other side of the building, and not just the front.
I would agree with you that, it might be a good idea to have something in the back of that building to identify it from inside the plaza itself. However, if you're coming from any of the other entrances, you're gonna see that back sign. And if you're coming from the entrances on either side of that, you're gonna see the front sign and the freestanding sign.
Sure.
So I'm not so sure that I see the need for signs, maybe 2, but not 4. That's just my opinion, so that's basically where you're coming from. Obviously, you'd like them on all 4 sides.
Yes, sir.
Probably every business would like them on all 4 sides.
Yes, sir. And we felt the fact that we're not exceeding the total allowed square foot by, but only three and some change total square feet
Yeah.
that we would, that we're not asking for anything that's killing it. And if you have your elevations in front of you, you'll see that they're not overbearingly large.
Right, I understand, and
Sure.
I appreciate that,
Sure.
and I agree with you.
It's just retail, discount retail, trying to maximize visibility any way we can.
Thank you. That's all I have, Dan.
Anything else from the board?
I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need all of this before AutoZone?
On the
If you
front
t-
wall, that is typically our sign, because that is our federally trademarked logo. That is a recognized logo with the trademark department. And we typically like to have that. And if you'll look at your elevation, the given space there on the front of the building, the AutoZone by itself would just seem kind of floating.
I guess I was thinking that if you didn't need all of that, you could take it down and you wouldn't need much of a variance
Well,
on the signage.
I was going to mention something. Now looking and seeing what Mr. Belgiorno was talking about with the front sign being 32 inches max height and the other signs being 30. How about taking that front wall sign down to 30 inches in height? And then that gets us well under the 189 total square feet allowed.
Sounds good.
Still a number of signs.
Yeah, it's still a
It's
number, but
still
at
a
least it
number.
gets you
The
down
number,
under
correct.
square feet.
I mean, size doesn't seem to be a problem. If you're allowed 2, even if you were allowed 3, it'd be under.
Sure.
But it's the amount of signs.
Yeah, we do look at the total on occasion,
Yeah.
but visually, it makes, obviously, 4 signs makes a greater impact visually than one large sign.
Sure.
All right, anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, who turned the lights off, by the way?
Rob did.
Where are they?
Mike,
Yeah, Mike, I was hoping
can you
you'd
turn
turn
all the
them on
light
when you...
switches back
Oh,
on?
I didn't see
you're
it.
welcome.
Oh, I
Thank
thought,
you.
I saw it, but I didn't realize it was controlled.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Turn that off?
Yeah, we're in a little bit of fog back
that
here
better
with the,
down
with the
there?
cameras.
Turned,
Application
And all of a
number
sudden they
8,
went off.
Walter Baker, DSB Engineers and Associate, PC, 2394 Ridgeway Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14626. On behalf of Peeler Vision Group, requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-B, Article 3-3-12-E, Article 7-3-13-B, and Article 3-13-C of the code to allow a larger freestanding sign with less setback, greater building-mounted signage, and more than one building-mounted sign at 770 Panorama Trail South. The property is owned by Vision 2 LLC in Zone GB. This is SBL number 138.08-1-47. This is application number 13-0037.
Good evening. I am not Walt Baker. My name is John Gauthier. I'm here on behalf of DSB Architects and Engineers located at 2394 Ridgeway in Rochester, New York. With me tonight is Michael Peeler.
Michael Peeler, Vice President and third generation of the Peeler Automotive Group.
We're here tonight with two requests, as the application indicated. The first is for more than one building-mounted sign. We were here a little less than a year ago, and we received approval for the building-mounted signs in excess of one, and the signs that we wish to put up are larger in area than what was approved. As I understand it, it was not the intention of the applicant at that time to go with a bigger sign, but that sign represented what the corporation was producing, and hence we're back to request an approval of the signs that were the corporate standard that were generated for that purpose. That's the first request. The second is for a freestanding sign at the location that was previously used by the prior occupant. The code requires the sign to be 80 feet from the right-of-way. The proposed location is 80 feet from the pavement. This is an unusual situation in that the right-of-way is very wide. So the concern that would have existed by the setback is the spirit is being met, although it does not comply with the letter of the law. The location of this sign would not represent any kind of danger to traffic, and because the building is set back so far at this location, it's something that is necessary to properly locate the building, and it has been used in the past by a previous dealership. The location of the signs are indicated. And I think it's depicted a little better in the next drawing. This shows the in plan where the signs would be located. This is the location of the freestanding monument sign, and at this location, it's approximately 85 feet from the pavement, and the other signs are across the front. Each of them represents the branding and the location and the ownership. They're all on the same side, and they represent what the corporate standard is for the auto companies. Mr. Peeler will describe the nature of the evolution of the signs from the previous approval.
Yes. Previous approval, very similar. I have a single image that if you'd like to take a look at. Previously, on the front, we have basically two manufacturers, two franchises we sell, Jaguar and Land Rover. Our DBAs are Jaguar of Rochester, Land Rover of Rochester. However, we're housing them in one building. Jaguar and Land Rover are owned by the same company named Tata, but they are two distinctly different brands. So over the portico is where we'll have the Jaguar logos, and over the tower will be the Land Rover and Range Rover logos. Previously, the Jaguar logo on the portico consisted of flat panel of the Jaguar Leaper, as well as the text and lettering Jaguar. A slight change that they've modified in the manufacturer's facility requirements is that flat panel logo is no longer in existence. They have now required to have a standing Leaper on top of the portico, and then the Jaguar lettering across. As you can see the handout, that's the previous, on the front page there, that image, that is the previous, and that was as of January 14th, and as of 2 weeks later, I believe, after that, I may be incorrect of the actual date, they've changed what their signage should look like nationwide, and because we're in the midst of the facility upgrade, we have to abide by what their facility requirements are, which brings us back to bringing the Leaper to the top of the portico. And the Jaguar lettering on the fascia as previously approved in September 17th. So the only change for Jaguar is bringing the Leaper to the top of the portico. The Land Rover and Range Rover signage on the tower, which was previously approved in the September 17th meeting. They've increased in size per the manufacturer, and I believe it's roughly about a little less than 2 feet per sign that they've increased in size.
So basically the same design, but 2 feet larger?
Exactly the same design. They're the exact same size.
All right. The Leaper itself, is that like a statue?
It looks like a statue, correct.
And is it
It will sit on...
leaping out
It will
towards the front?
Correct. It will sit on top of the portico and looks as if it's leaping over. If anyone's familiar with the previous generation Jaguars, the hood ornament was the Jaguar Leaper, and they're bringing that image back by having it stand out and back to the heritage of Jaguar.
What's going to be under this?
Under the Leaper, it's bolted to the top of the
Excuse me,
portico.
this gentleman's blocking what you're trying to show me, that's okay.
It's bolted to the top of the portico, of
Is
the
there-
building itself.
Are people going to be walking underneath it?
No, it's a full canopy, so it's not possible to
leap on it.
Correct. There's no danger of it falling or injuring an individual.
And how much larger would that be? I mean, I guess, how would we interpret, we usually interpret the thing by blocking it. How much higher than the how high is it? I guess, let me start with that. Above the building.
They don't offer a full dimension of it from, I guess I would say from head to tail, according to the plans that we've been given by the manufacturer. It's 7 feet 4 inches.
High?
In length.
And it's less than half, it looks like it's about 3 feet high, if that's ballpark 3 feet. It's less than half the length and width.
Correct.
Okay.
And I believe in comparison to what was previously approved of the full signage on the Jaguar portico on September 17th, the Jaguar text logo and the Leaper together is actually less, I'm sorry, is actually less than what was previously approved. The only sign that's truly getting large, the two signs that are truly getting larger are the Range Rover and Land Rover signs.
And if I may add, collectively, the signs have increased in area. The various signs collectively are a greater area than they were approved a year ago, but they are under what would be the maximum amount that would be allowed by your code.
Rochester signs staying the same?
Correct, yes it is, as is the service sign.
You know, I just want to make sure I understand. So in the entire statue, or that's what I'm going to call it, or the Leaper, is going to be protruding from the building?
It will sit on top of a perch on top of the building, correct, on the Jaguar portico.
Okay, so if you're looking from the side, you would see the full length of
You would see the side,
Jaguar.
yeah, correct, you'd see the profile. And if you looked head-on, you'd only see probably around the face portion of the animal, of the statue.
Yeah, okay. All right, I have a question with the freestanding sign.
Sure.
As you said, you were here a little less than a year ago. Less than a year ago, you proposed what seems to be the same sign and were denied. What's the difference?
From what I understand from what we proposed a year ago, we were actually only asking for a 15-foot setback from the road, where now we're moving 85 feet back to the site of the previous dealers for the previous ownerships. Freestanding sign. I do have some images that I can pass around.
I don't know if at the previous discussion, the width of the, the extreme width of the right-of-way at this point was fully explored, nor the nature of the, the very, very wide road and the absence of any danger. The location of a pylon sign this close to the right-of-way would typically represent a potential danger, where this is back a significant distance. And I don't have a transcript of what was discussed at the previous meeting, but I don't believe that was fully explored.
Well, Mike, I'm sorry, but I'm just reading from the resolution
Right,
here.
okay, which says-
The denial resolution cites that the request was for a 6-foot 11-inch by 8-foot 6-inch freestanding sign setback 15 feet from the right-of-way of Panorama Trail South.
Okay, and this one,
So differentiate for us, I think is what he's
Yeah.
saying. Where you're not asking it that it go in the same place that was denied
No, we're
a
asking,
mere months ago.
it's set back quite a bit. The distance-
85 feet more?
from the right-of-way.
It's 85 feet from the right-of-way. But you're, Mr. Chairman, you're asking to differentiate
'Cause I
between the
think-
two locations?
No, what I'm asking is this, and I think what Mike is asking,
Right.
differentiate what was denied from what you're asking for tonight.
Okay.
What's changed about your application? If it's distance,
The di-
great,
it is the
let us know the
distance.
distance.
It is the distance from
From the pavement?
the pavement, correct.
Okay, but this is described as 15 feet from the
Right-of-way.
right-of-way. So,
I believe
do we have a map up there that we
Yeah.
could point to and, and fold that over if you would, so you don't have to sit there and hold it?
at the time, they did not have a good delineation of where the right-of-way was.
Yeah.
And can you show?
This is the location.
Right, but originally, when they came in previously, they felt the right-of-way was up near the edge of the curve.
Well, let me make this as simple as possible. Point with your index finger to where the application was in September.
This location here.
Okay, and with your right-hand index finger, point to where you are now.
Yes.
Great. What's the actual distance between those two index?
70 feet.
All right, okay.
So
Thanks.
you were on the sidewalk before, basically?
It was,
Just
in that
inside
area.
the
Just
sidewalk?
inside the sidewalk.
In
Just
that
inside the
area,
side.
yeah.
Okay.
And the images
Just,
that I
you just handed us a picture, so
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mike, I was just gonna say. So what you're saying is this is where you now want the sign, and it's very hard to see it, but it's right over the top of this little silver truck?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
there's about the third, if you see the third flag in, American
Yep.
flag in hanging from the post, you'll see just behind that,
See it,
a
Mike?
silver.
It was hard for me to
This
hear.
is the one
Take a
he's
look at
talking
this
about.
picture, just over the silver truck.
There's a small silver SUV that
I got
can be
it.
seen.
Yeah.
See, that's where they want it now. Before it was out, say, by where the 40-mile-an-hour sign is.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you can see, the first image is northbound, going up Panorama Trail. Second image is, I would say, another probably 35 to 40 feet up Panorama Trail. Then our next two images are southbound around the bend, pretty much by the intersection where the Popeye's Chicken is, as the bend comes around. And it's fairly clear that due to foliage, due to the curvature in the road, frankly, on both sides, be it northbound or southbound, without a pylon or monument sign, it'd be very difficult to see. You'll see the building, but defining what the building is and signage would be very difficult. That the pylon sign would allow customers to direct them where our building is. Frankly, in the past, since we've been there in February, which was our first day in that location from Webster that we moved, we've had, I'll nicely put, a bit of an issue. We've had a number of Buick GMC customers walking into our Jaguar Land Rover showroom, looking for a LaCrosse or an Enclave or Verano, and I'd be more than happy to sell them a Jaguar or a Range Rover while they're there, but that doesn't seem to be the
Little
vehicle
surprised by the
that
price
they
tag.
don't. They're a little shocked. They thought Buicks got expensive all of a sudden. So we have had to direct them because we have not had any signage either on the building or out by the road. And it is fairly confusing when an individual does come in, which direction to go, especially with no sign whatsoever for Jaguar Land Rover, and the Buick GMC signage is quite a distance back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you explain why you gave us this picture? I mean, this is,
Actually,
go
that-
ahead,
that-
explain why you gave
That was to show illumination. If you had I brought that up in case you had a question of what illumination might be.
This is not gonna be the signs that you put up.
It was.
Because this is a leaping leopard on the
That-
sign.
Well,
on the
that was,
side.
that was to show you the differentiation between what we asked for in September
Uh-huh.
and was approved. That's an image of what we had in September versus what we had up here of what we'll see, we're asking for here in the future. The text of Jaguar, however, will remain the same.
But the leaping leopard
Correct.
is gonna come out now.
It will stand.
7 foot out.
It will stand up. It will stand centered, so it will probably hang over probably about 2.5 to 3 feet. The majority of.
What are you gonna put it on top of the facade?
Correct, it sits on top of the
And then it's
facade.
gonna come over the side.
Is it illuminated?
It is not.
Not
Only the
illuminated?
text, only
And
the
what's it-
Jaguar text.
What's it comprised of?
I believe it's a
Look at that.
shimmery plastic. I don't have the actual
So it's
material.
not a
It's not
stone-
a
it's not
metal.
stone.
No, it's not stone, it is not metal.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? No? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 9, Paul Colucci, the DeMarco Group, 1950 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, Rochester, New York, 14623. On behalf of Salads, etc., requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-77-A and Article 10-10-4 of the Code to allow a restaurant at 1900 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Baytown Associates and is Zone GB. This is SBL number 093.02-1-23.11. This is application number 14Z-0038.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Paul Colucci. I'm here on behalf of the DeMarco Group, owners of the Plaza, Baytown Plaza, 1900 Empire Boulevard. Here tonight seeking conditional use permit for a prospective tenant, as Mr. Morehouse read, Salads, et cetera, to be located within the plaza. I believe in your package is an exhibit showing the plaza and identifying the location. This tenant would be the first tenant to be located in the new street of shops that we created That work was done last fall, and we're proud that we're having some leasing success, and we have a tenant who wants to locate there. Not to reiterate what you heard a short while ago with one of the previous applicants, but it is almost verbatim, the type of use, the hours, but I will run through those for you, and I promise I did not copy what they said. Sales, et cetera, would occupy about a 1,200 square foot space within the plaza. The hours of operation would be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., but that may vary depending upon success, if the, or staffing, or just remaining open. They may condense those hours, but I don't expect them to be extended beyond. The days of operation would be Monday through Saturday. There's a very, very low likelihood that they would be operating on a Sunday. The offerings would be pretty much what you heard earlier this evening. It's soups, made-to-order salads, paninis, wraps, the light fare. It's not a heavy industrial, not a heavy commercial kitchen application with fryers and Ansel system, et cetera. We have submitted to the health department. We have received health department approval. We've identified the equipment that would be in that kitchen, and that's reflected on the set of building permit plans that have been submitted to the building department. We would comply with all the codes. There'd be a 3-compartment sink. There would be a grease trap on the floor, as is required for a commercial kitchen, and there would be a hood over the cooktop where they would be making the made-to-order soups, et cetera. That hood would have an exhaust system, and it would have scrubbers so that there would be no noxious odors, et cetera. Seating in the dining room, as represented on the plan that we submitted to the building department, would be for approximately 24 to 30 people. Employees is anticipated to be between 4 and 5, depending on success of the operation. And deliveries, where we're locating this tenant, everything would come in the front door. There is no back door to this tenant. The street of shops faces, the tenant spaces face to one another, and the back of those tenant spaces on this particular side, the west side of the plaza, backs up to an existing tenant. So these smaller tenant spaces don't have rear access, and it's always been designed that way, that the smaller shops, 1,000, 1,500 square foot users, would go front door delivery access. Pretty straightforward. We've always contemplated these types of uses, and we're excited to have a tenant that's ready to occupy a space. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, the only question that I have is, you have a statement here under the compatibility, where you're talking about outdoor dining. Say it's located in such a manner as to allow for safe travel on the internal circulation drives. And just if you could elaborate on that. Why do you say that?
What particular part of that?
D, your letter dated May 28th, 2014 to Harold. The first page, it's 1 and 2, and so it would be under 2D.
Gotcha.
Paul, all I'm asking you is, why is it going to, tell us how it's going to be safe, that's all. I'm sure it's going to be, but I'd just like to hear a little bit more.
And I apologize, the wording there, and you picked up on probably a typo. There isn't proposed outdoor dining.
Oh, okay.
That is embarrassingly a carryover from a previous application when we had an actual outdoor dining facility. This particular tenant is not serving customers at a table. It's not a sit-down restaurant where there's a server who comes out. If there was any outdoor seating, it would be convenience-type seating where we may have a table and some seats outside front of the establishment that someone would order a sandwich, walk out, sit, deposit it in a receptacle when they're done, and move on. But there wouldn't be outdoor dining where it would be service.
Okay.
So apologize for that in the application.
All right, thanks. That's the only question I had. Anybody else have questions?
I just got one. A little contradictory. When you say you're just kind of like the other one has no grill, or you have a grill. You have a grill, you're going to cook something on it, like hamburgers or, right?
There's not a grill. There's
what do you need a
actually
range cook for
there's a
then?
gas cooktop for cooking of soups and making of sauces. There's not a fryer, there's not a grill that would be cooking hot dogs, hamburgers, anything of that nature.
Okay, so just the range hood that you're talking about
Range hood.
goes to an outside vent.
Correct.
It doesn't need an Ansel system or anything else in
Doesn't,
it,
there's not a
'cause
high
you're not frying.
hazard where there would be fryers or combustibles, so it doesn't need the Ansel system.
Got the difference. Thank you, Paul.
Anyone else from the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Application number 10, Phil Coraguso, on behalf of Vincent Vella, 1759 Empire Boulevard, Webster, New York, 14580. Requests an area variance from Article 3-3-78-B of the code to allow parking facility expansion with greater lot coverage and a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-B and Article 7-7-12-E of the code to allow a larger freestanding sign with less setback at 1759 Empire Boulevard. The property is owned by Vincent Vella and Zone GB. This is SBL number 093.15-1-67. This is application number 14Z-0039.
Good evening, members. I'm Vincent Vella from 1759 Empire Boulevard, Webster, New York. I am the owner of the property. There have been the owner since 1998. And I'm here this evening to request a granting of a permit to remodel our existing sign in front of the building. The sign has not been remodeled significantly from a structural point of view since I've owned the building, and it was pre-existing there prior to myself purchasing the building, and has become a structural, it has become weakened, and I think it's time to kind of upgrade and spruce that up. On the actual comment here, it says here that we're asking for a larger sign. We are not. We had given an option for the signage of having possibly a sign that would be lower to the ground if the board feels that may be more appropriate for the neighborhood or for the surrounding area. We are okay with leaving the sign where it is, the height of it, the size of it. If you are uncomfortable changing the sign to something of a lower ground, but we leave that optional to you. The other request this evening was for an area variance for the area on the east side of the building that was paved last year. Just to give you a history a little bit, when I originally bought the building back in 1998, the east side of that building was basically a hole. There was a foundation that was originally built by the previous owner, and when I bought it, it was just basically blocks and then just kind of dropped off. So after I bought the building, I basically filled that area with dirt and gravel, just for safety issue, and just kind of neaten the place up. And I never did anything further with that because we were contemplating a possibility of putting some kind of porch on the side of the building and various things. And then there was some issue with the adjacent property with the previous owner that owned it. We weren't sure what was going to happen with that. After our neighbor east of us, the restaurant that was built, and we kind of had the facing of what the actual building was going to look like in the actual parking lot, I ended up just paving that surface to neaten things up. After we actually did an actual garbage receptacle, we actually poured a concrete pad and fenced that around with a drainage pipe, a drainage unit at the base of that, where the actual garbage receptacles are to collect the water, so that we kind of neatened that up and actually cleaned up the area, and that was the reason for doing that. As of now, we've been on hold because there was an issue with this paving, whether it's going to be able to be left alone or something else has to be done. We're planning on just kind of landscaping the side of that where the restaurant, where their actual landscaping comes in and kind of slopes down. We're just planning on maybe putting some mulch and maybe some bushes in that area to dress it up, just to keep it cleaned up. So that was the reason for doing that. On my behalf, so I'm asking for a variance on that to allow me to leave the blacktop as is, if possible.
Okay, so in other words, you kind of created it by fixing that drop-off, but you also stopped a hazard from happening because it was a drop-off. Am I correct?
Correct.
That's how the green space violation came
Correct.
about. And
Yeah,
you'd
it was-
like to keep it just as it is now?
Yes, sir. It was just because it was gravel and was unkept. It wasn't very safe, and people were walking around back there. And so we just, like I said, we just neatened that up after we did the garbage receptacle. Just kind of neatened everything up and cleaned it all up. So now that you can actually park some cars there, people can walk there. You don't have to worry about people tripping or slipping, and it's cleaned up very nicely and it's real clean.
Okay, and let's talk about the sign.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, according to my sheet, we have 2 variances on the sign. 9 square foot more. You're saying you're going to put the exact sign in as was there?
It's the exact same sign is there. That's what we're
That's the
asking
size.
for.
Harold, does that need a 9-foot variance?
The records for that sign showed that a special permit was granted for it to be in this area that's out front of the 4 parking spaces, that it's within the right-of-way of Empire Boulevard back in 1981 or 82 or so. Right, yeah, not too much before our time, we got gray hair. Right, before, yes, well before you acquired the property, or you acquired the property.
Mhm.
And the mapping that was provided for that application seems to have been incorrect, because there was mapping that we had documented that showed that triangular area out there that shows those 4 parking spaces was within
Yeah,
the
they seem to
state
be illegal, correct? I mean, they're outside what the property line is. No, we're talking about the sign now.
Yes, I
Where the
understand,
sign
but-
is correctly,
He was getting there.
But
oh, I'm
yes.
sorry.
But
We
that
got it
area, that's,
oh, yeah, it's,
the area that's out in front of where those parking spaces were
Yes.
was where that sign was previously approved.
okay.
And the sign was, as far as we can tell, was never placed there. It wasn't there when you had acquired the property. As far as we can tell, it was never placed where it was given approval for. So I felt it was prudent to just bring it all in for the total amount of square footage that they had, along with the fact that it's about 1 foot off of the property line.
Is that a yes or a no?
I'm not sure, but go ahead. All right, so let me ask you the question.
A sign was approved.
Right where it is now, at the size it is now?
No.
Okay,
No.
so then let's go to the whole thing and we'll just go from there.
Right.
But where the sign is now, sir, that's where the sign, you want it? Right where the pole is now and the sign size where it
Yes,
is
sir.
right now, that's where you want it? And if that's 9 foot over, c'est la vie.
Yeah, we're okay with that. We just gave you, we presented another
area.
option for you to put another
Yes,
sign.
no, that upper sign is fine.
That-
You know, if
all-
that's
all
what
we
you
do-
prefer,
Yes.
then that's what we'll vote upon.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we're okay with that, that's fine, it's worked for us. We just, like I said, we just wanted to remodel it so it looks more appealing, and it's old.
No, I understand. You're just not really changing the sign. Now,
No.
we're getting into technicalities with him, but right where the sign is, same sign, new.
Same foundation, just the pole and the sign, same dimensions.
Thank you, I'm done.
I have a question.
Sure.
In that you've increased the impervious surface there, how does that affect drainage? Especially down, down.
We've had no issues because we have a pretty large catch basin at the base of that, of the property. We've had no problem with all.
All right, and it just directs the pavement, the way it's paved directs the water to that catch basin?
Yes, sir.
Well, I know that, okay.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, the whole thing goes
plumber
down,
knows
that's
that
correct,
one.
and it goes right to the corner there.
I mean, we do have a plumber on the plan.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Anyone in the audience? Come on up.
How you doing?
How
I'm
are you?
Bill Wilkinson. I'm a neighbor on 10 Smith Road. There's 3 houses there along that road that are bordered by the Dynasty. And one of the reasons I'm speaking now is because of our very much displeasure and discouragement and disappointment in how we were treated with the Dynasty. And it's caused a lot of depression in our family because we've lost all privacy. And that, along with some of the things been going up at the corner too, has been disturbing. We not only have to smell the smells of the restaurants all day long, that was given. We believe in people being successful, and we like to go to restaurants ourselves. However, there have been other issues, loud vent fans that make loud humming noises, bad bearings in them. There's been noisy parties upstairs for my neighbors, and there's a porch that hangs out. I don't even know if it's legal, but it hangs out on the side of the building. And we've had to report noises there, people partying late at night, 2 in the morning, things like that. I think the problem was solved. At least those tenants were solved, I think, were asked to leave. But we also have people from this restaurant, which is, they do a very good business, good food from everybody I hear. But when Friday nights and holidays, Christmas parties, there's parking all down our street. We've barely missed backing out on cars that parked right in front of our house. And we're two houses down from where the restaurant is on the corner. So we're concerned about that, and we've also heard this new parking area supposedly is paved over so employees can park there, and I'm concerned, speaking for my neighbor, they go right by where their bedroom is, this driveway that goes down the east side of the building now, which wasn't there before. You know, I'm just trying to let my frustrations in other people's success. Why do we have to pay for their success? We've lived there a long time. We've raised 5 kids there. We have 2 kids that were salutatorians at Webster Schools. We're studious. We like our quiet. We like our privacy. Right now, we were not aware at all that the Dynasty building was going to be built up 7 feet higher than the ground level. And we have 10-foot high trees we planted at the border when we knew they were going to be there. And we were told there would be a barrier, but the barrier is a fence, and I approached them and tried to get them something higher, and they said, no, we'd have to get a variance for that. And right now, all the employees come out and sit on the deck, and they can stare over my 10-foot high trees at anybody in the backyard. My daughters, my wife can't go there and sit out in the yard anymore. They're sitting there puffing their cigarettes, just staring at us. They don't have anything else to look at. And anybody who parks in the parking lot of the Dynasty can look in our windows at night because the fence is 3 foot lower than our property level. That's where it starts, so it only sticks up 3 foot higher than our back property. And then our house is a couple feet higher than that. And anybody in the parking lot can look in their cars. We can look at their business. They can look at our business. And we were all bordered by trees before the Dynasty went in there. So we've lost, in other words, these people's success, which I'm grateful for, that they are, but why do we have to pay for it? as homeowners in this area. I don't know, and I'm just voicing my grievance.
Can you elaborate a little bit about, and I appreciate with the Dynasty, I do, but can you elaborate a little bit on your concerns about this restaurant, this building? You said, we were talking about the east side, and then you started
Yeah, well,
talking about
I
Dynasty.
feel they're such a successful business. Why did he move there to start with? Because they're always crowded and
Yeah.
overflow on parking. I mean, it's always that way. You can ask any of the neighbors. Two of the other neighbors
Oh,
are
I
here.
live nearby, I know.
You know, so there's always overflow on that narrow street. And it's a narrow street. There's to start with. No concerns have been in the past, loud garbage noise pickups in the morning, because when the neighbor's bedroom is right next there, when the garbage truck comes in at 5 in the morning, and it does at the Royal Dynasty too, we hear all the noise, you know, of them doing that. We understand that. Those are little things. I think lack of privacy is the worst thing. A place that we've built hopefully to retire in and to relax in our older years. And then nobody really listening to our complaints, I think, is a thing. The thing up the corner, yeah, it's obtrusive and it's awful close if you look to where the neighbor's house is and to where his driveway is going down. The other thing is that they came in on his property and cut his trees down without even talking to him or communicating with him about it. And when he went to talk to them, and this was these people here, I believe, I don't know them, they told him, well, the tree was touching his fence. Well, they didn't even communicate to him or anything. They came over and just cut him down. So my whole thinking is, why would we believe anything they say they're going to do, or why they're doing it, or what their reasons for doing it? And it's just been a lot of frustrations living there because of this, that's all. I don't know, any other questions?
Have you complained to the town at all about any of this?
The police were called on the loud noises and the partying. We haven't complained about the parking per se. We just, you know, that hasn't affected us as much as the lack of privacy all the time. And we're just seeing more and more of that being eroded by the businesses around us. And, you know, we don't have many other options. So it's all part of, I guess, the ongoing progress that's going on there. We could have, my neighbors should have called the cops, because that was trespassing, number one, and it certainly wasn't being a good neighbor, not communicating with anybody, and then going on their property and cutting their tree down. So no, I haven't.
There's no way of buffering, either from your property or, you talked about the fence being only 3 feet, you know, as a.
Yeah, it's a 6-foot-high fence.
Hold on a second, what fence are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are we talking about, because honestly, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm not sympathetic, but if we're talking about Royal Dynasty, that's not the application before us now. If it's relevant to this application, great, and some of the things you've said, there's overlapping, and I get that, but if you're I want to make sure you guys are talking about the same fence and the same
Could be both,
buffering. Yeah,
from what I'm
that's,
hearing. I mean,
right,
it sounds
Right.
like, sounds like
Well,
the
the
lack of
fence is for
privacy
the
is-
Royal Dynasty.
okay.
The fence is just a chain link fence between the restaurant on the corner and our neighbors and us there. The main complaints, you know, is the noise from the vent, the cooking vents was very loud all summer long, very annoying.
Now, which restaurant you're talking about?
That's the one up in the corner, the Italian restaurant up in the corner.
Okay.
This one,
Yes, and I'm not sure the name of
And,
it. so
and has
I
that
can't
gotten,
think of it right now.
has that gotten better?
I haven't paid attention to it recently, no, sir.
Okay. all
So
right.
I haven't.
So you don't
listened
know?
to- Don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
I think I can speak to that. We received a complaint about that ventilation system from somebody on the other side of Baytown Plaza, that it was so loud. And it was looked at by Annie Sevegas, and it was determined that it was malfunctioning. and we requested the restaurant operator to repair it. And that was, I want to say, about a year and a half ago. Yeah. Was it about a year and a half ago that it was
I remember it last summer. To me, it sounded like it had bad bearings in it, you know.
I don't know what the mechanical problems were
Right.
with it, but it was found to be in some type of failure.
And it was an
And it
annoying
was
noise
addressed.
that was always in the background.
Oh, it's going to be horrible noise. I mean,
Right.
it's,
So, you know, and there's just those things. And I'm just trying to dump the things that have been going on in our life.
Well, and there's an example of somebody making a complaint to the town taking action on it, and the property owner apparently taking some corrective action, which is good. So, I mean, you shouldn't hesitate to do that, and you should tell your neighbors the same thing, just like you're here tonight. You know, Carol asked you about complaining to the town. You're doing that right now. At least I consider that, and that's valid. That's why we have the
Yeah,
public
and
forum.
my concern is progress encroaching on our home. I mean, if we did any of these things to these owners, probably near their houses, they would be outraged, you
Yeah.
know, and yet there's no consideration for us. I went to the owner of the Dynasty and asked him to consider a taller fence, and all I got back was, oh, we would need a variance for that.
Right.
You know, so,
Well, there's a difference between lack of consideration and disagreement. You know, sometimes people say you didn't listen because you gave a decision that they don't agree with, and those are two different things. So I just, you know, I want you to know that we're hearing you and we are listening, and your complaints are valid and reasonable. The question is, how do those specific, and by the way, the stuff, the Royal Dynasty and the View, again, these guys can take a look at that. Two things I want to follow up with you on are, and with Harold actually, is the parking on Smith Street. Is that permissible for cars that are going to patronize the Italian restaurant to park on Smith Street all year, certain parts of the year?
The only time it wouldn't be permitted would be when we have snow removal standards, which start in November
April.
and go to April.
Okay.
And are there from, I want to say it's either 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning till about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. But outside of those hours, unless it's posted no parking, then they would be permitted to park
Yeah,
on.
so let's say we have a situation where there's so many cars that are parking there that it's becoming a hazard for residents. What would you suggest residents should do about that? And I'll tell you why. I live over behind Baytown, and when we first moved in there in '94, there's an intersection that I thought really needed a stop sign because of pine trees on the corners. And I walked around, I got some feedback from neighbors, came to the town, and now there's a 4-way stop sign there. Much safer intersection than it was before. So if there are issues with parking there creating hazards, come to petition
well,
the
the
town
yards are
specifically.
blended with the road. So there is
Well-
parking on the yards, you know.
Well, that's another reason. So, you know, put it together and come in, and I'm not looking to create a problem for the restaurant, but, you know, nobody's safety should be, or should be put in jeopardy because of this. There should be a solution that we can find. So I encourage you again to come on in and point it, if there's a problem, point it out. It's happened before, and we developed a solution that.
Right.
with
I mean,
the,
if the road is so restricted that passage by vehicles would be impossible or difficult, and I don't want to say difficult, but if you can't get an emergency service vehicle down through there, call 911. They'll respond somebody out there, whether it's going to be the fire chief or a deputy. And then at least there'll be a documented record through their system that that complaint came from you or came from somebody in the area. And at that point, then the Transportation Committee could make some recommendations to place signage, with the town board, place signage on the road to restrict parking along one side. And we did that just recently with another restaurant group on the other side of.
Right,
of
and then
Boulevard.
there's
Right.
also a street that runs off of Scribner behind the school, where a lot of people go to use the baseball fields there.
Right.
And
Different
people parked up and down that street. And
Well, with
those,
Bay Road, if somebody's or on Smith Road, if somebody's parked there, you can't have 2 lanes of traffic. I mean, it's impossible.
Yep.
I'm not saying we need to have 2 lanes of traffic.
Right.
If you can't, because obviously if there's an emergency, that emergency vehicle's taking the road.
Right, well, there's never been that instance. There's
Well,
been instances of parking too close to the driveways, and there's been instances of parking on
But like I
lawns.
said, if you make the call to 911, they'll come out to evaluate whether or not they feel it's a serious problem or not. And then that can be escalated up through the town committees. Transportation Committee meets tonight in another room here. And they would act on these types of situations that are being brought before them through all types of avenues that we interact with. And then if they feel that signage needs to be placed there, they would make a recommendation to the town board to place signage there to stop people parking on one side of the road, which theoretically is going to allow for some reasonable passage of emergency vehicles. But it's
Point well
going to be the easiest way to facilitate that process back to us, because, you know, obviously these things are happening, what you're describing to us, Friday nights, Saturday nights, weekends, holidays, when we're just not around. The staff is just not around to take those calls from you. And that'll be the way that we interact, because 911 does have access to us to get a hold of us, the fire marshal and other staff like that.
And he's talking about a given night or a given instance, but I would encourage you to come in and make your case, if you will, for not just one night it was a problem, but why it's a consistent problem that needs to be addressed. And, you know, come to the town. He's saying call 911, I'm fine.
That's if you see
But we do have a
immediate problem.
transportation committee, come in and speak with them.
Okay,
Come in and speak with the highway department.
okay,
You know, again, your concerns are legitimate and they should be addressed.
all right.
Now,
Can't do away with the Chinese food smell all the time?
you know, I have to tell you, where I live, we smelled it a lot, and it's right, where I live right behind Walmart, and it
Right.
used to come that way. So I hear you, I understand.
All right.
I'd like to ask you guys about this issue on the east side of the building, and the privacy, if you could come back up and let me have you address the concern that the
And
gentleman
is
made.
there anything we can do with getting a barrier between us and the Dynasty?
I would say come in and speak with Harold about that, because that specific issue is not before us today, so my suggestion to you is come in and, you know, bring whomever you like, come in and speak with
Yeah,
Harold.
there was no way of looking at the prints, the initial prints, that you could tell the elevation of their building. You know, how high the first floor
Right.
is gonna be.
Right.
It's way up higher than our level.
Yeah.
You know.
Call the office, and then we'll set up a meeting with you and other staff members in the planning office to go through your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. So Mike asked a question before about buffer. And if I'm understanding that concern there on the east side, and you were describing how you'd built that, and he seems to be saying with cars driving down there, there's an issue. I'm not quite sure I understand it, but do you know what the complaint is, and is there?
No, there is no cars driving through there. The area there is either left open, or it's used as an overflow for sometimes for the busy nights on Friday and Saturday night. The employees will actually park in that area. It's like, can accommodate about 4, sometimes 6 cars if you pack them tightly there. But there's no drive-through. Now, in the garbage pickup, they pick it up whenever they pick it up, whatever the cycle is, if they come in at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't know if we can alter that or not, but that's the only traffic that goes down there to pick anything up.
Oh, is there still a tenant upstairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and have we had any complaints about the tenant in the last 6, 8 months, let's say?
No, the old tenants we had kicked out, there's a new tenant there, there's no problem there at all.
Okay.
There's no loud parties there anymore, there's none of that stuff going on.
All right, okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Anyone else in the audience? Okay, thank you all very much. I think that was the last application, so the hearings will be adjourned. We'll take a brief recess and reconvene in the back. Thank you all.
Are you staying, Phil?